Hi beauties, and welcome back to my channel. If you're just joining us, hit subscribe right now because you're about to witness the most intense moment in Aminah and Min-jae's love story. In episode 1, a poor girl from Mali met Korea's biggest celebrity, and just when things got romantic, everything fell apart. Now she's hiding in his guest room, listening to another woman claim he's promised to marry her. Grab your popcorn, find it comfortable, and let's dive into this episode. The voices in the living room grew sharper, cutting through the silence like broken glass. Aminah pressed her back against the guest room door, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Wedding, contract, arrangements. The words spun in her head, each one a small devastation. She'd been a fool. Of course someone like Kang Min-jae wouldn't be free. Of course there was someone else. Someone who had keys to his apartment. Someone whose family made arrangements. Someone who belonged in his world in a way a girl from Bamako never could. She heard his voice, firm and frustrated. Ji-woo, we've been over this 100 times. There is no wedding. I don't care what contract my agency thinks they signed, I didn't agree to this. Your agency speaks for you, Minj. That's how this works. And my father has already invested millions in this partnership. You think you can just walk away? The woman's voice was cold, businesslike, nothing like the warmth Minj had shown Aminah hours ago.
Watch me, he said.
Aminah heard footsteps, sharp heels on hardwood, then the sound of the front door opening. You have 1 week to come to your senses, Ji-woo said. After that, this becomes a legal matter. And a scandal. Choose wisely. The door slammed. Silence flooded the apartment like water filling a sinking ship. Aminah sat on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, trying to process what she'd just heard. She should leave. She should slip out quietly, pretend she'd heard nothing, go back to her simple life at the cultural center, and forget that for one beautiful, impossible evening, she'd felt like she mattered to someone extraordinary. But before she could move, there was a soft knock on the door. Aminah. His voice was gentle, careful. I know you heard.
Can we talk?
She wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself. But she opened the door anyway. He stood there looking exhausted, running his hand through his hair, his eyes searching hers with something that looked like fear. Let me explain, he said. They sat on the couch, the same couch where he'd told her she was someone he couldn't stop thinking about just hours ago. Now the space between them felt like an ocean. Ji-woo's father owns half my agency, he began, voice quiet. 2 years ago, before I met you, they proposed a business arrangement. A public relationship that would benefit both families, both careers. I said no. I've said no every single time. But my agency, they see me as a product, not a person. They signed agreements without my consent. So it's real, Aminah said, her voice barely above a whisper. The engagement.
No.
He turned to her, his eyes intense. It's not real. It's a business proposal I never accepted. Ji-woo and I, we're not together. We've never been together. She wants the arrangement for her career. I want nothing to do with it. Aminah looked down at her hands. She has a key to your apartment. He exhaled slowly. She broke in tonight. I'm changing the locks tomorrow. Min-jae, she said, and saying his name hurt. I'm just a girl who works at a cultural center. You're Korea's prince. This, whatever this is between us, it's impossible. He moved closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. Don't, he said. Don't do that. Don't make yourself small because the world is complicated. But it is complicated, she said, finally meeting his eyes. Your life, your career, your world. I don't fit in it. Maybe I don't want to fit in it anymore either. His voice cracked slightly. Maybe meeting you showed me that there's something real outside of all the contracts and cameras and performances. You see me, Aminah. Not Korea's prince. Just Min-jae. Do you know how rare that is? She wanted to believe him. Allah, how she wanted to believe him. I need time, she whispered. To think. He nodded, though she could see the disappointment in his eyes. Take all the time you need. But know this, I meant everything I said tonight. You're not just someone I can't stop thinking about. You're someone I don't want to stop thinking about. He called his driver to take her back to her dorm. The ride was silent, her head pressed against the window, watching Seoul blur past in streaks of neon and shadow. The next few days were torture. She threw herself into work at the cultural center, organizing books she'd already organized, cleaning shelves that were already clean. Ms. Park noticed but said nothing. Nia, however, was less subtle. "Girl, you look like someone stole your favorite drama character," Nia said one evening in their dorm. "What happened with Mr. Famous Actor?" Aminah had told Nia everything after that first night at his apartment. Now she told her about Jiwoo, the contract, the impossible situation. Nia listened, then said simply, "Do you trust him?" "I don't know," Aminah admitted. "My head says I'm being stupid. My heart says something different." "Then maybe," Nia said gently, "you need to listen to both and see which one speaks louder." Minj didn't come to the cultural center, didn't call, but he texted. Small messages that appeared on her phone like prayers. "Good morning. I hope you're taking care of yourself. The center must feel empty without you lighting it up. I'm giving you space, but I'm still here, waiting. Your headscarf was beautiful that first day we met. Everything about you is beautiful." She read each message multiple times, her chest aching with longing and confusion. On Thursday evening, the cultural center was unusually quiet. The usual afternoon rush had come and gone, leaving behind just the soft whisper of pages turning and the distant sound of Seoul traffic. Aminah was shelving books in the Korean literature section when she heard the door chime. She turned, expecting Miss Park returning from her meeting. Instead, she saw him. Black hoodie, dark sunglasses. That presence that made the air feel electric. He walked to the desk slowly, like he was afraid she might run. "Miss me, library girl?" he said softly, using a new nickname. Her stomach flipped. She tried to keep her voice steady. "You shouldn't be here. What if Miss Park comes back? Then I'll tell her I came for the books," he said, pulling his mask down slightly, that devastating smile appearing. "And for the girl who makes this the only quiet place in my loud life." He waited until the last visitor left, an elderly man who'd been reading poetry for 2 hours. Then Minj slid into the reading corner, the spot where he'd sat that second day, where everything had begun to change. Aminah approached slowly, her professional mask slipping. "Can I help you find something?" she asked, trying to maintain some distance. He looked up at her, his eyes soft and vulnerable.
"Yeah.
I'm looking for a second chance. Do you have any of those in stock?" She bit her lip, fighting a smile. "Minj, I know you said you needed time," he said quietly. "And I respect that. But I had to see you. Had to make sure you're okay. You haven't responded to my messages." "I read them," she admitted. "Every single one." And his voice was hopeful, scared. "And I don't know what to do with them. With any of this." She sat down across from him, the reading table between them like a barrier and a bridge all at once. He reached across the table, not quite touching her hand, but close enough that she could feel the warmth. "I spoke with my agency," he said. "Told them in no uncertain terms that there will be no arrangement with Jiwoo's family. That I'll sue them if they try to enforce anything I didn't consent to. It might get messy. It might cost me some opportunities. But I don't care. Minj, you can't throw away your career. I'm not throwing it away. I'm choosing what matters." He did touch her hand then, just his fingertips against hers. "And you matter, Aminah. You matter more than you know." She felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm scared," she whispered, "that this is too much. That I'll lose myself in your world. That I'll wake up and this will all have been a beautiful dream." "Then let's make it real," he said.
Slowly. Carefully.
"On your terms. I'm not asking you to jump into my world. I'm asking if I can exist in yours for a while." She looked at their hands, his fingers now intertwined with hers. "What does that look like?" "It looks like this," he said. "Me coming to see you when I can. You letting me know when you need space. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people trying to figure out if what they feel is real." After that conversation, something shifted. The fear didn't disappear, but it became manageable. They began building something fragile and precious in the spaces between their separate worlds. He started texting her more often, not just sweet messages but pieces of his day. Just wrapped a scene where I had to cry 17 times. My face hurts. I kept thinking about your smile to get through it. Fan meeting today. 2,000 people screaming my name. But I'd trade it all for your quiet laugh. Couldn't sleep. Started reading that architecture book you recommended. You were right, it's fascinating. She'd respond with her own small updates. Miss Park caught me smiling at my phone. Had to pretend I was reading a funny article. Nia says I need to stop blushing every time you text. I told her it's impossible. Thank you for the messages. They make the hard days easier. One afternoon, Aminah was struggling through a particularly difficult day. Her classes at the language academy had been intense, the Korean grammar making her head spin. After her lessons, she'd rushed to the cultural center for her shift, exhausted and overwhelmed. She stood at the front desk, organizing event pamphlets, when she heard a soft knock on the window behind her. She turned to see a delivery person holding a pink box. For Aminah, the person called through the glass. Confused, she went outside to collect it. The box was beautifully wrapped, no label, but there was a small note stuck to the top. For my library girl. Handle with care. And yes, I know it's that time of the month. You mentioned it in passing last week. I remember everything you tell me. MJ, her heart stuttered. She brought the box inside, waited until Miss Park went to lunch, then opened it in the back office. Inside, perfectly arranged, a heating pad shaped like a traditional Korean hanok house, a small jar of honey from her favorite Malian brand that must have cost him a fortune to find in Seoul, a bottle of pain relief tea, 2 packs of high-quality pads, a lavender-scented candle, and a tiny plush camel holding a heart. Underneath everything was a handwritten note on cream paper. You always act like you can handle everything alone. Your independence is beautiful, but even the strongest people deserve care. I can't be there today, but this box is my way of saying, I see you. I care. And you're not alone anymore. P.S. Don't roll your eyes at me. I can feel them from across the city.
P.P.S.
The camel is because you told me about the desert near your home. I wanted you to have a piece of Mali, even here. She sat there in the back office, surrounded by books and pamphlets and the scent of lavender, and cried quietly. Not from pain or sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that someone was paying attention. Really paying attention. Weeks passed. Their secret romance grew in whispers and stolen moments. Sometimes his driver would pick her up after her shift, and she'd spend evenings at his apartment. But Minj never pressured her, never pushed boundaries. They'd sit on his floor drinking ginger tea, watching Korean dramas with her explaining the cultural context he took for granted. You know, he said one night, you're ruining dramas for me. She looked up from the bowl of popcorn between them.
How?
Because no actress makes my heart race the way you do when you explain why the female lead bowed at that specific angle. His smile was gentle, teasing. Her cheeks flushed. Stop making fun of me. I'm not making fun, he said, setting down his tea and shifting closer. I'm being completely serious. You've changed everything, Aminah. Before you, this was all performance. Now, everything feels real. She didn't know what to say to that, so she did what she always did when emotions overwhelmed her. She looked away, shy and flustered. He caught her chin gently, turning her face back to his. Don't hide from me, he whispered. I love seeing you like this. Real and unguarded. I'm always unguarded around you, she admitted. That's what scares me. It scares me too, he said. Feeling this much. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. One sunny Saturday, after she'd had a particularly exhausting week of language classes and shifts at the center, he surprised her. She walked into his apartment and stopped in the doorway, stunned. The living room was transformed. Candles flickered on every surface, soft music played from hidden speakers, and in the center of his dining table was a small chocolate cake with "Congratulations, Aminah" written in icing. For what? She asked, genuinely confused. He walked over, grinning. You passed your Korean Level 3 proficiency exam. You mentioned it last week, remember? You didn't think it was a big deal, but it is. You're incredible. Her eyes filled with tears. No one had ever celebrated her small victories like this. Not even her family back home, who loved her but had their own struggles. He poured them sparkling juice since she didn't drink alcohol, and they toasted.
To the smartest woman I know, he said.
To the kindest man I've met, she replied. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. He told her about the pressure of his next film, a historical drama that terrified him. She told him about her dream of one day designing a community center in Bamako that blended Korean and West African architectural styles. You'll do it, he said with absolute certainty. And I'll be there at the opening, front row. Will you? She asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Will you still be in my life then? He set down his glass and took both her hands. Aminah, I know this is complicated. I know my life is messy and public and sometimes impossible. But I need you to understand something. He paused, making sure she was really listening. You're not a phase. You're not a distraction. You're someone I want to build a future with, however that looks. I'm in this for real. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with promise and possibility. She felt something crack open in her chest, all the fear and doubt making room for something that felt dangerously like hope. I'm in this too, she whispered. I'm terrified, but I'm in this. He pulled her close, wrapping her in his arms, and she rested her head against his chest, hearing his heartbeat, steady and sure. They stayed like that for a long time, the candles burning down around them, soul glittering beyond the windows, two people from different worlds trying to build a bridge between them. Later, they danced to the soft music, her in her modest dress and headscarf, him in his simple t-shirt and jeans. No cameras, no fans, no pressure, just them. You've bewitched me, library girl, he murmured against her hair. She laughed softly. Says the man whose face is on billboards across the city. But I want the girl who hides her smile behind books and blushes when I hold her hand. He pulled back slightly to look at her. You're dangerous, you know that? Me? She laughed, incredulous. I'm the least dangerous person in Seoul. You're a walking heart attack, he said seriously. Do you know what you do to me? How you make me feel like I'm enough even when the world says I need to be more? His eyes dropped to her lips. If I kiss you properly, will you faint? Her voice came out barely audible. Maybe. Let's find out, he whispered. He kissed her gently at first, asking permission with every movement. She responded, her hands finding their way to his shoulders, then his neck, then his hair. The kiss deepened, becoming something more urgent, more real. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. Still conscious? He asked, a smile in his voice. Barely, she admitted, and they both laughed. The evening dissolved into comfortable intimacy, conversations that flowed like water, touches that spoke louder than words. At some point, they found themselves in his bedroom, not rushing, just naturally gravitating toward more closeness. He never pushed. Every step was a question she could answer yes or no to. Every touch was reverent, careful, like she was something precious that might break. Are you sure? He asked, his voice rough with emotion. We don't have to. I'm sure, she said, and she was. Sure of him. Sure of this. Sure that whatever happened tomorrow, this moment was theirs. They made love slowly, tenderly, with all the awkwardness and sweetness of two people learning each other for the first time. He whispered her name like a prayer. She held him like an anchor. And when it was over, he held her close, pressed kisses to her forehead, and told her she was extraordinary. She fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer than she'd ever felt, feeling like maybe, just maybe, impossible things could become possible. When she woke the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting everything in shades of gold. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she felt the warmth beside her, saw Minj sleeping peacefully, his face relaxed in a way she'd never seen it before. Without the weight of fame, without the careful mask he wore for the world, he looked younger, vulnerable, human. She watched him for a long moment, her heart doing that familiar flutter. How did this become my life? She thought. How did a girl from Bamako end up here, in the arms of someone who existed only in her dreams a few months ago? As if sensing her gaze, his eyes opened slowly. When he saw her watching him, a sleepy smile spread across his face. "Good morning, library girl," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning," she whispered back, suddenly shy despite everything they'd shared last night. He reached out, tucking a stray lock behind her ear. "Any regrets?" She thought about it honestly, about her fears, about the impossibility of their situation, about how different their worlds were. Then she looked into his eyes and found her answer. "No," she said softly. "No regrets." His smile widened, and he pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her forehead.
"Good.
"Because I have plans for us today." "Plans?" "First, I'm making you breakfast. Then we're staying in this apartment all day, away from the world, just us. We're going to be completely, wonderfully boring together." She laughed. "That sounds perfect." He made her breakfast, or attempted to. She sat on the kitchen counter, wrapped in one of his oversized hoodies that swallowed her whole, watching him struggle with scrambled eggs. "I don't think eggs are supposed to be that color," she teased as he frowned at the pan. "I'm an actor, not a chef," he defended, but he was smiling. "Though I play a chef in my next drama, so maybe I should practice. Maybe you should let me help before you burn down your kitchen." She slid off the counter and gently took the spatula from him. Together, they salvaged breakfast, working side by side in comfortable synchronization. He toasted bread while she finished the eggs. She sliced fruit while he brewed coffee. It was domestic and simple and absolutely perfect. They ate on the couch, legs tangled together, feeding each other bites and laughing at nothing in particular. "I could get used to this," he said, watching her with soft eyes. "To what?"
"To you."
"Here. In my space. Making it feel like home instead of just a place I sleep." She set down her coffee cup, her expression turning serious. "Min-jae, what are we doing?"
"Really?" He knew what she was asking.
"Not about breakfast or this moment, but about the future. About what came next." "I don't know all the answers," he admitted. "My life is complicated. There will be challenges, my schedule, the media, people who won't understand. But I know what I want." "What do you want?" "You," he said simply. "In whatever way you'll have me. Secret or public. Fast or slow. I just want you in my life, Aminah." Her eyes filled with tears. "I want that too. But I'm scared of losing myself. Of becoming just Kang Min-jae's girlfriend, instead of Aminah, who has her own dreams and her own path." "Then we make sure that never happens," he said fiercely. "Your dreams matter. Your identity matters. You're not an accessory to my life. You're the whole point of it." She kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't say into that kiss. When they broke apart, both breathless, she rested her forehead against his. "We'll figure it out," she whispered. "Together." "Together," he agreed. They spent the rest of the day wrapped in each other and comfortable silence. He worked on memorizing lines for his upcoming drama while she studied Korean grammar, both of them on opposite ends of the couch with their feet touching in the middle. Every so often, he'd look up from his script and just watch her, a small smile playing on his lips. "What?" she'd ask, catching him staring. "Nothing. Just memorizing this." "Your lines?"
"No."
"You. This moment. I want to remember everything." She'd blush and return to her textbook, but she couldn't stop smiling. Later, as evening painted the sky in shades of purple and orange, they stood by the window overlooking Seoul. The city stretched out before them, millions of lights beginning to twinkle as darkness fell. Minj stood behind her, arms wrapped around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For taking a chance on me. On us. I know it's not easy." She turned in his arms to face him. "You're worth it. This is worth it." They stood there, holding each other as the city transformed from day to night, both knowing that outside these walls, the world waited with all its complications and challenges. But for now, in this moment, they had each other.
And that was enough.
The weeks that followed established a rhythm to their secret relationship. Min-jae would visit the cultural center during quiet hours, always disguised, always careful. They'd steal moments between his filming schedule and her shifts. Sometimes it was just 10 minutes of conversation in the back office. Sometimes it was late-night phone calls that stretched until dawn. Sometimes it was entire weekends hidden away in his apartment, pretending the outside world didn't exist. Nia became their unwitting accomplice, covering for Aminah when she disappeared for evenings. "Girl, you're glowing," Nia observed one morning after Aminah returned from a night at Minj's place. "This man is good for you." "He is," Aminah admitted, unable to hide her smile. "But I'm terrified, Nia. What if it all falls apart? What if it doesn't?" Nia countered. "What if this is real? What if you get your fairy tale?" Aminah wanted to believe it. Some days she did. But fairy tales, as Aminah was about to learn, don't account for the complicated reality of falling in love with someone whose life belongs as much to the public as it does to himself. And secrets, no matter how carefully kept, have a way of demanding to be told. One particular weekend felt like pure magic. They stayed locked away in his apartment, the world outside forgotten. Laughter echoed through the rooms as they cooked together, burned toast, and ordered takeout instead. Secret kisses stolen between drama episodes. Teasing touches while doing dishes. A shared bath with candles and soft music, talking about everything and nothing until the water went cold. It was perfect. Too perfect. She should have known it couldn't last. Sunday afternoon, they were lounging on the couch in comfortable clothes. Aminah wore one of his oversized shirts and nothing else, her natural hair loose and free, her headscarf abandoned for the privacy of his home. Min-jae was reading a script while she scrolled through her phone, their legs tangled together in easy intimacy. Then the doorbell rang. They both froze. Min-jae wasn't expecting anyone. He never had visitors without warning. "Stay here," he said quietly, getting up. But something in his voice made her nervous. She heard him open the door, heard his sharp intake of breath. "Mom, what are you doing here?" His voice was strained, speaking Korean. "I could ask you the same thing." A woman's voice, cold and sharp as ice. "Why didn't you tell me you moved again? Let me in." "Now isn't a good time, let
Me. In.
Panic shot through Aminah's chest. She stood up quickly, looking around frantically for her clothes, for somewhere to hide, but it was too late. The door swung open, and a woman swept in like a winter storm. Mrs. Kang was everything Aminah had feared. Elegant beyond measure, dressed in flawless cream silk, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup impeccable. Cold, imperious beauty that came with generations of wealth and status. Her sharp eyes scanned the apartment and landed immediately on Aminah. Bare legs, messy hair, wearing her son's shirt. The silence that followed was suffocating. Minj stood frozen in the doorway. Aminah stood slowly, pulling the shirt down, trying to cover herself, unsure what to say, how to move, how to breathe. "Who is she?" Mrs. Kang's voice could have frozen fire. Minj stepped forward, trying to soften the moment, trying to build a bridge across the chasm opening in his living room. "She's my girlfriend, Mom. This is Aminah." The air changed. Something cracked. Mrs. Kang's expression hardened like glass about to shatter. She took a step forward, her eyes moving over Aminah slowly, deliberately. Her skin, her hair, her presence. Everything about her that screamed different, foreign, unacceptable. Then she spoke in Korean to Minj, her words fast and harsh. Aminah didn't understand the language, but she understood the tone. Disgust.
Rage.
Dismissal. "Mom, stop." Minj's voice rose, but his mother ignored him. She turned to Aminah, switching to English, her accent precise and cutting. "Get out." Aminah blinked, her heart pounding so hard she thought she might be sick. Her hands trembled as she clutched the shirt closed. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, don't call me that."
Don't speak to me.
The venom in her voice was like acid. Minj stepped forward, defensive, putting himself between them. "Stop it, Mom. Right now. You're humiliating our family." Mrs. Kang's voice shook with fury. "You bring a girl like this into your home, into your bed, like she's your equal, like she belongs here. Aminah's chest tightened, each word a knife finding its mark. Mrs. Kang turned her full attention to Aminah, and what came next was worse than anything she could have imagined. Listen to me very carefully. You disgust me. Your kind disgusts me. Mom. Min-jae's face twisted in disbelief, but his mother continued, relentless. You think because you're wearing his shirt and sleeping in his bed that you belong in his world? He is Korea's top actor. He comes from one of the most respected families in Seoul. And you? She looked Aminah up and down with pure contempt. You're nothing. You're lower than low. You black girls, you think you're exotic, think you're charming with your foreign ways, but all I see is filth trying to climb where it doesn't belong. Mom, enough. Minj moved to shield Aminah completely, but his mother's words kept coming. You will never be with my son. I will make sure of it. He has a reputation, a future, and you are nothing but a stain on both. She's not using me, Minj shouted. Look at her. A foreign student clinging to a celebrity for money and status. She's manipulative, desperate, a gold-digging little. She didn't finish because Minj stepped fully in front of Aminah. Don't you dare. Is this what you want the world to see? His mother hissed. Korea's prince with some African nobody. Aminah found her voice, small and shaking but real. I love your son. The slap came so fast, so hard, that Aminah stumbled backward. The crack echoed through the apartment. Her cheek exploded in pain, her eyes filling with tears. Mom. Minj grabbed his mother's wrist, fury blazing in his eyes. But Mrs. Kang jerked away, her composure returning like armor. When she spoke again, her voice was calm, which made it infinitely more terrifying. I will make sure you never step near him again. If I have to ruin your scholarship, cancel your visa, destroy your name and your future, I will. You don't deserve him. You're just a phase. A mistake he'll forget. She turned sharply, smoothing her silk jacket, adjusting her designer bag. The rage radiating from her was cold and controlled now, which made it more dangerous. She walked to the door, paused, and looked back at her son. When you come to your senses, you know where to find me. Until then, don't bother coming home. She left. The door closed with a quiet click that sounded like a guillotine. Aminah stood frozen, hand pressed to her burning cheek, eyes wide and glassy with shock. The red handprint on her face was already darkening. Minj turned to her immediately, his own hands shaking as he reached for her. Aminah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know she would come. I didn't know she was capable of. His voice broke. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. The words kept echoing in her head. Filth. Nothing. Lower than low. You're kind. He pulled her into his arms, and she finally broke, sobbing into his chest as he held her tight, whispering apologies into her hair. She said she'll ruin everything. Aminah choked out between sobs. My scholarship, my visa, everything I've worked for. She won't, Minj said fiercely, though his voice shook. I swear to you, she won't. I won't let her. No one will take you away from me. He kissed her hair, her forehead, holding her as if he could protect her from the entire world with just his arms. But they both knew the truth. The damage had already begun. And in that moment, standing in the ruins of their perfect weekend, Aminah realized that loving Kang Min-jae might cost her everything she'd come to Korea to build. The question was, would their love be strong enough to survive what was coming? So, what did you think of episode 2? Rate it out of 10 in the comments below, and let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing all the countries represented. If you're invested in Aminah and Min-jae's love story, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss episode 3. Trust me, things are about to get even more intense. I'll see you in the next episode.